focused in on my fucking enormous face. Alright guys, so in today's video we'll just be talking about a couple of things. Not really old news, but in the space or in the sense of like internet time and calendar. It's kind of old news, but I squatted 705 and I wanted to talk about how I got there, things I did to achieve that, what you could take away from that possibly. But also just what really triggered me to just chase after that number. Because after the meet I did in December of 2023, I had two objectives: to get really fucking strong on my squat and really fucking strong on my bench press, which will be for another video. And I primarily just wanted to figure the fuck out, like, how do I do that? Because I'm making progress, I know I am, but when it comes time to express that, new strength, it's just not really there. Something happens, something fizzles out. What can we do differently? And me working with my coach, Paris Butler, the baldest of Omni-men, after that meet, although I was overall happy with my performance, I just told him straight up, hey, we need to figure this shit out, because if I want to be competitive in any sense of the word with powerlifting and stuff like that, then I need to be hitting these numbers. And even the numbers I am or was aiming for at that time, that's like, it's not really much compared to the fucking monsters that are out there in the 125 kilo class, which is where I want to compete at. 275 for freedom units. But anyways, I just wanted to walk you guys through that. And we first have to go to, just my feelings and how I was feeling after that meet. And a lot of it was frustration because, leading up to that meet, while I did see a lot of progress on things like my front squat, while I was, hitting PRs on my main squat, my high bar squat, as we got closer to meet prep, things just weren't feeling great. And, traditional squat training that I would do, it just wasn't really working. And, I had to really come up with something to save my squat for meet prep. I ended up doing Bulgarian method for my squats, where I was squatting 4 times a week, and each day I was squatting, I would work up to a top single at an RP 9 or 9.5, something like that. I just, I think I had 2 days where I did a competition style squat, my high bar, and then the other 2 days would be either a paused high bar or maybe an SSB or a front squat. I kind of alternate between the two. It really just depended on how I felt, which that topic is, a long video in and of itself. But, I had to do some weird things to save my squat, if you will. The best squat I did at that time, at that meet, was 650, which was about, I think, like a 5 kilo PR for me, something like that. During prep, I was struggling with 550 pounds for a single. So, leading up to that meet in December, I think it was the last 2 weeks, I had 9 sessions at that point, something like that, to do, this style of squatting. And yeah, I just kept building up to a top single at that heavy exertion. And it saved my squat. I was able to squat 650. I chipped, my current squat PR and all that stuff. But I knew I had a lot more in me, and I knew that if I wanted to really push myself and do something with powerlifting, I can't just be stuck in the 600s forever. And I was starting to feel like I was really plateauing in the 600s, and I was really tired of it. I was very frustrated about just not being able to figure out my squat. I know how to squat, I know how to push my squat hard, but how do I figure things out from that training perspective, that programming perspective? What do we need to do? So, after that meet prep, going into the programming and everything, I felt like squatting 3 times a week would have been very good for me. Right out the gate, my coach and I, we did not squat 3 times a week. We squatted twice. And within those 2 days, I had one day high bar, comp style, and then the other day was also high bar. But I think we did I think it was naked squats or something, like no belt, no sleeves. And on both days, I would just hammer the volume. Obviously on that secondary day where I was doing the naked squats, the weights were not as heavy as the main day where I was basically in comp gear and everything. Which is just basic programming, right? Have a primary day, have a secondary day. Primary day, we're more specific. We push the load, we push the performance. Secondary day, just get in your fucking volume. Get into practice is kind of how I like to put it. So that's what we were running for probably a good 3 months before we started to pivot things. And something we did that I felt was very unique about this approach, and something that I am really happy that Paris was able to come up with. And this is why I like working with Paris. Just FYI, shout out to Paris. This is my testimonial for you that you've never asked for. But he knows how to get people strong, but he also just doesn't drink the Kool-Aid of powerlifting or anything really. And it's very refreshing, at least for me, being kind of powerlifting adjacent, I guess, to also not get like swallowed up in that, where he can just kind of where he can just look at things from a different perspective and see how we can apply it to my own training, keep things fun, keep things fresh, but ultimately get the fucking result that we want, which is all that matters at the end of the day. So something he did that was unique, instead of the usual powerlifting, like, do your top set, do your back downs and all that stuff, he gave me the load to work with. Cool, hit X percentage, here's the weight, whatever. Do it for 3 sets, and just rep it to an RPE. And that's nothing groundbreaking per se, but I just really liked that because at that point I'd never really done anything like that for my squats. So that was really refreshing. And it was also just really fun. Like, just being able to be like, yeah, I don't know how many fucking reps I'm gonna get, but I'm just gonna get in the fucking zone. Just absolutely hunt for as many fucking reps as I can, within the RPE, and then just kind of go from there. So I really liked that model of training, and it just made things really fun. It was really nice to just auto-regulate things as well with that method and with that model. And I was pretty much doing that for both of my squat days for a while. We didn't really introduce top sets or back downs again until about month 4. And by that point, I think we were trickling in a little bit more squatting. And that's where I bumped things up to 3 times a week. And with the 3 times a week squatting, so I've done it before, and it works, but like squatting 3 times a week on a barbell, that's a lot, at least for me. I think when you reach a point where like you're just objectively pretty strong, you just need more time to fucking recover, And while higher frequency can be really good, it's about how you dose the frequency and the exercise selection where I think comes into play a lot. So when we did, I don't know if that made sense, but what I'm really trying to say is, the stronger you get, the more muscular you are, stuff like that, the more years you have of solid training and consistent training under your belt, the more time you'll need to recover from your workouts. So, if you've been in this game for a while, yeah, sure, tinker with the idea of 3 times a week if needed. But I would probably steer clear of doing too much barbell work because your lower back, your hips, your knees, whatever it might be, they're going to feel it. And that's why when we did 3 times a week, getting back to the main point here, we had 2 days barbell. Tuesday was my primary squat. Saturday? Is it Saturday? Saturday was my tertiary day squat. And then middle of the week, my secondary day squats was just like a machine squat. I think I used I forget the name of it. It's a horizontal hack squat, vertical hack squat, whatever the fuck it is. It's one of the better machine squats that we have that doesn't fuck me up. Even with that being said, I fucking hate the machine squats that we have. I wish we had a Smith machine. I wish we had a true hack squat, but it's fine. I make do with it. We have a belt squat, but I hate how it feels on my hips. But just 2 days barbell, 1 day machine squat, and we picked the machine squat as that middle of the week sort of secondary stimulus, just so I can mop up some volume, not really not really fatigue my lower back or just my back in general, and my hips a whole lot, really just focusing on quad volume with that. And I don't want to say that was instrumental in, getting me really confident with squatting or newfound squat gains. I think it helped. I think it was just an additional here's a little bit more. But what really benefited me when we shifted from 3 times a week was just the frequent exposure to singles. I was doing singles on both of my barbell days. Obviously, the primary squat day, things were a lot heavier. I was really pushing the performance, really pushing the load. On that tertiary day squat where I had singles as well, it was just one top single for each day for clarification. I'll probably put examples of the workouts somewhere in the video. But anyways, on that tertiary day squat, top single, really chill back downs, and I really just treated those singles as practice. Like, yes, the weight's a lot lighter. I'm fatigued though, so this shit feels a lot heavier than it should be, but that's fine, because I understand the assignment. I understand the purpose of this third squat day. I'm not gonna get weirdly attached to but my 80% feel heavy. It's like, who gives a shit? Just do the fucking work, whatever if it's heavy. What matters is that on the day that you need to be at your peak performance, that you actually show up and that your strength shows up there for you. So with that tertiary day, I just treated it like practice. A lot of the squats I did were like sub 500, or not sub 500, but sub 600 pounds. Anywhere from like 520-ish to about, I think at the most I did was like 595, which were all like either third to last warm-ups for me, roughly, like not very heavy singles or anything like that. It's just fucking practice, because I needed to get really good at doing the fucking singles. But also, with my background of doing Bulgarian method before, it seemed to work for me. So I guess in like a very pseudo kind of way, I was doing like an alternative Bulgarian method. Probably not. But, just with that past history of, me doing really well with all the singles, Paris and I were just like, yeah, let's do singles multiple times a week. This primary day single is going to be to just really push the envelope, and then that tertiary day is just going to be for general practice. Now, circling back to the primary day, we did something interesting. While we did pivot to doing like top sets and back downs really briefly, I think just for a block, afterwards I felt like I needed to be a little bit less emotionally attached to weights. And so I asked Paris if he could just program me more percentage-based stuff. So he would give me the weights for my workouts to do. In the last stretch of things leading up to the 705, 8 weeks out, around there, is when we were doing, at least on the primary day, we were doing top single, top set, and then back down. So pretty typical powerlifting kind of workout. Tertiary day, like I mentioned before, top single, and just really chill back downs. And then middle of the week with the machine squats, I do like 2 to 3 sets of whatever weight, just rep it to fairly sub-maximal RPE, like a 7 or 8 on that machine squat. And that was the structure that I was running. I really liked doing the top single, the top set, and then the chill back downs. I hated it while I was in the middle of it because I was tired, but being able to practice with the single and then really push on the top set was really nice. And again, Paris pre-programmed me all of the loads and everything, and what I thought was really cool about that was just how I just surrendered to the weight. I didn't care about, oh, what if it moves like this? What if it, I don't give a fuck. What mattered was I was able to just focus on what I was, gonna do that day, and I could just execute, and I could just focus on my cues, and I could just focus on, squatting heavy and doing it really well. Percentages, programming percentages, or RPE, it's not, either is not something that is groundbreaking. People have been doing this for a long time in terms of programming in this manner. But that was just my experience, with that style of programming and everything. And that's what I got out of it. In the last stretch of things, we pulled the top set on the primary day. It was just a top single, really chill back downs. Same thing for the rest of the other days. Machine squats, 2 or 3 sets or so, just rep it out. And then tertiary day squats, top single, really chill back downs. At that point, it was just a matter of timing things in the sense of timing how heavy I'd be going, figuring out how heavy I would need to go before the day I actually go for the 705, because that's a pretty big jump in terms of like what my past PR was and what I'm aiming for. Because in the meet I did 650, 5 pound or 5 kilo PR, and then I wanted 705. That's a 55 pound jump in weight, so it's kind of a lot, as well as breaking into the next 100 pound bracket. So I really liked how meticulous we were about the weight selection, because in the last stretch of things, I think the last 4 singles I took, it was like 617, 633, and then I went for like 661, something like that. So I, chipped it close to my current PR, and then I went just a hair above. And once I hit that 661, that's when I really knew. I was like, okay, I have the 705, because it just moved so fast and so, like, I wouldn't say effortless. It was definitely hard, but I was really able to just move. And I felt so confident being able to move through it. And I think that's what, the frequent singles, the squatting multiple times a week, I think that's what really helped me. And more than just that too, the frustration I felt, before starting this training cycle and aiming for the 705. I felt like for the longest time working with Paris before this meet that I had that in me. So just not being able to reach that was very frustrating. And I think something that can be difficult to navigate sometimes in powerlifting is those frustrations that we feel when we don't hit certain numbers or when we don't make the progress that we want. And I think this is where having a coach or honestly just having somebody to talk to, whether it's your fucking coach or a good friend or whatever the fuck, being able to talk to somebody and, somebody that knows your training, knows your programming and everything, and just knows you. I think this is where that comes into play a lot, because, sometimes it's just as simple as, dude, you're not sleeping enough, you're not eating enough. And other times it's just, hey, like maybe we need to change some things about the approach. What do we need to do? And it's being able to, take a step back, not be too consumed by your frustrations, and make some actionable change that pushes you closer to your goals. Because, that's why we get frustrated, right? Because we don't know why the fuck or where the fuck to go with our feelings. And I think it's about it's about accepting that you feel those frustrations. I think owning that up is like powerful as well. Because, you want something. I wanted the fucking 705. I wanted it bad. And that's why I, slaved away at it after December for 7 months or so. And I was just like, my mind was only thinking that. Every squat session, I was like, okay, what I'm doing today is going to lead me to that 705. And because of that, I have to really fucking push myself, within those limits of my program so that I can recover and everything. But I need to push myself. Like I need to get there. So it's about striking that balance, right? Of like your effort, but also holding back enough so that you can recover, and then just continuing to fucking do that and just push. And so, that's where I feel like my frustrations led me. I wasn't where I wanted to be, and I needed to take a hard look at why, and having a coach, to back me up, that's in my corner with me to help me get to where I want to get to. I think all of those things just really culminated to that. And, something else that I think was fun to do while I was leading up to the 705 was, as things were getting heavier, I was like starting to have to like push myself in ways that I haven't had to before, just objectively, right? Because like there's weights on my back that I haven't had. Like I haven't done 661, right? I haven't, and how do I know if I have 705 if, I've never really, if the heaviest set I've done at that point was a 595 triple, like Yeah, for some further context, like I didn't really have like a linear sort of like, oh yeah, you're obviously gonna squat 705. Like I didn't take 600 for 5 reps or something, or 630 for 5 or whatever. It's like, no, like I'm kind of hanging out in these like sub 600 numbers, not even really doing it for like crazy reps or anything. Like 705 felt so out of reach, and I think that's where, you know, having to play like mental games with yourself can be really critical in how you can execute, and just becoming a really good executor, and just somebody that's not going to back down. You know, I've talked about these things before a bit on my Instagram, where I talk about things like positive self-talk, imagery, and just those like mental things that you can do to just kind of like put yourself like in it, and that was refreshing to kind of go back to that, you know, use those tools, and things like positive self-talk. I hate it when people say that it's like you're gaslighting yourself into, you know, success or whatever it is that you want. It's not gaslighting yourself. It's taking the doubts that you might have surrounding training, and it's about reframing those things. So something that I would do was, you know, if there were thoughts that I had that limited me in my performance, I would write those down, and then I would find a way to pivot that into something more productive. So for example, for me, I have a really bad fear of just like losing my balance on squat, because when I was younger and I would squat heavy, if I'd misgrooved, then that bar would roll on my neck and I'd be fucking, I'd dump it forward, and that shit scarred me, man. Fucking scarred me, bro. So something that I do to kind of mitigate that fear or anxiety is I just kind of tell myself like, hey, like how long has it been since that happened? like that's not really ever gonna happen again. Like you've proven to yourself with your performance and your results, like objectively, it's not really a thing anymore. Another way to kind of utilize positive self-talk, beyond just like telling yourself you're gonna do good or whatever the fuck, it's being able to reframe those nerves you feel, because everybody feels it. Everybody feels that anxiety. Everybody feels those nerves, and instead of allowing it to, for example, let's say, cool, like I have a big squat day today. I feel nervous. I didn't get like the best sleep last night. Like I'm kind of hyped up. Like I'm just a little all over the place right now. And instead of taking that anxiety and turning it into doubt, or maybe you do turn it into doubt, whatever the case may be, you know, accept that for what it is. Accept the negative emotions. Like, yeah, I'm feeling really anxious right now, and it's because I don't know if I can squat the weight that I have slated for me today. But, you know, I also feel this anxiety because I'm just really looking forward to the chance to lift heavy, because I just love lifting heavy. That's what positive self-talk can sound like. And that's true. I fucking love lifting heavy. And, you know, when I had the 705 that day, I was just like, yeah, sure, like, my last heavy single move, fucking amazing, but, and all that stuff, and it looks like I have 705, but who knows, I haven't done it yet, and that terrifies me. But, at the same time, I'm not gonna let that absorb me, right? Like, I'm anxious, sure. I have doubts, sure. But I'm also really excited to just do something I love. That's a way that you can take your negative emotions or thoughts and pivot that to something else. And I think that really helped me just kind of get through like those days where, oh fuck, like I gotta go somewhere that I don't know if I can go. And instead of just doubting that, just, you know, focusing in. What matters? It's not the end destination, it's the process that gets you to the end destination. And, you know, the process looks different for everybody. Everybody has their own little checklist of cues. I certainly have mine that I like religiously abide by when I'm squatting, because that also helps me not focus so much on those negative feelings, because I can just think about, cool, I have to just focus on X, Y, Z cues, do that in whatever order, great. Like while I'm doing my squats, that's all that matters to me. That's all I'm focused in on. I'm focused on that, and I'm focused on being aggressive, you know, and those things combined, like that's an unstoppable force right there. So that was a little tidbit on, or a couple little tidbits, or a lot of tidbits on, you know, things that I did to reach that 705 squat. I hope you guys found this video helpful. I want to be posting a little bit more on YouTube, at least once a week, just because I'm kind of burnt out from the short form content, and I just want to be more open and like raw about my training with you guys, because that's not really something I talk about a whole lot. So if you guys like the video, cool, like the video, or if you don't like it, just do whatever you want. Subscribe if you want to see more things like this, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.